Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. Every Tuesday, 9 o'clock, we are here to deliver value. We're here to interview amazing people to help you take your business to the next level. And what does that mean? That means just be a more successful salesperson, be more productive in the way that you have conversations with both referral partners and with clients. I do want to remind everybody this call will be recorded along with all of the educational content we created. It is in our YouTube channel, and our YouTube channel is just trending in the mortgage space. We get over 100,000 views a year, over 1 million minutes of loan officers learning how to sell better with Mortgage Coach. Today, I am super excited to have Anthony. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm wonderful, Dave. How are you?
I'm good, brother. You want to go ahead and put on your screen? Sure. So, man, I have interviewed you a lot of times in preparation for today's call.
I'm in an Industrious, which is like a WeWork right there, and it looks like you are in a WeWork.
I am in a WeWork.
Look at that. It's 2017.
Yeah. It is. Isn't WeWork awesome, by the way?
I like WeWork, but I'm in Industrious. We don't have WeWorks in Columbus yet, but this is a really nice one too.
Yeah, well, the whole concept is great. So
it is.
We're selling like it's 2017 already. Well, but before I hand off the screen and have you go through your keynote, the lost art of closing, I do want to announce something for the Mortgage Coach community. And Anthony, I think you know a little bit about it because I told you about it in our prep. But we kicked off a contest and literally less than a week ago. So a matter of 4 to 5 days ago, I kicked off this contest called the Referral Magnet Video Contest. And basically the ask to the community was create a video that you could put in YouTube, you could advertise on Facebook, and the call to action is for either a family, past customer to say, I want a total cost analysis, or a past customer referral partner to say, hey, I know someone who needs one of those total cost analysis. So it was interesting. I had a goal, given the limited amount of time that I gave people, that I'd get at least 6 submissions. And I thought maybe like my reach was if 12 people submitted, that would be great. And we've got over 21 video submissions. So first of all, I want to say everybody who participated, 1, you're brave. 2, you were just obviously a superior mortgage professional than the typical loan officer in the market. I think it was really obvious just how much you care about serving families, just how serious you are about having a competitive differentiation versus other loan officers. So kudos. We had 21 submissions. I mean, they were all really good. I mean, I would say that in every single video, there was something that was the best and that other people can learn by. But again, it is a contest, and we're not, I'm not in the business of giving participation trophies. So the prize is $100 in Facebook marketing. The Mortgage Coach marketing team is going to help you, could be editing, just help you package it. And then I've got a number of experts. Got a Facebook marketing expert, Derek Cheney. I have one of the foremost YouTube video experts, Rob Crocker, who's weighing in. He's one of the judges, Coach Phil Hart, Robert Stover, and Roberto Monaco. So we've got some great judges, and they've weighed in. So I'm going to announce who the winner is. So Lori Richardson did an awesome video on the Total Cost Expert. Again, one of the top 4. Right now, I'm showing everybody the top 4. Brian did a great video called Extreme Mortgage Transparency. It was the shortest, 47 seconds. And there's a lot of power in keeping it under a minute. Jenny had a great video, 1 minute and 20 seconds, super compelling headline, incredible story. And then, of course, Frank Blakely and his team created this commercial, 4 minutes, 19 seconds, super fun. I would call this the home buying journey in 2017. And Frank and team, you guys knocked it out of the park. Out of the 5 judges, 1 judge did pick this as the winner. I would say every single one of them was picked by a different judge as the winner. But the winner is Jenny. Jenny had multiple coaches or multiple judges pick her as the winner. We decided to go with Jenny because it was just a great story. Compelling headline. Her energy was amazing. I could go on and on what was amazing. But Jenny, you are the winner. If you're on this call, let me know. Towards the end of the call, we'll try to bring you in, talk a little bit. But I'm going to spend a lot of time on this Friday's mastermind call. The Friday mastermind call is just all about making more money, being more productive. Basically, how can we save time and make more money in the mortgage industry? So this Friday, we're going to dedicate it to really drilling down on the contest and talking about how to make effective videos that actually generate leads. So come check myself and Todd Bookspan out this Friday at 9 o'clock, and we'll spend more time on it. So with that said, also I do want to remind everybody I made a playlist. So in our YouTube channel, there is a playlist called the Referral Magnet Contest. And if you want to check out all 21 of the entries, check that out. Also, one last announcement before I bring in our special guest today. We have decided to play this contest forward. So if you've already submitted an entry, you're eligible to win. Jenny, you won't be eligible to win. And next week, we're going to announce another winner because it was just so successful. We think it's such a powerful contest. We're going to play it forward. And then again, if you submitted a video, but after seeing who won and after hearing the feedback that we give, you want to redo it, we'll take the submission down you have and we'll put your new submission up. So we will announce another winner at next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. So with that said, it is time for the big show. Anthony, you are someone that I learn from. I read your blogs. I listen to your podcast. You know, I've read your books. I think we have bought cases of your books and given them to clients because we just think when it comes to selling in 2017, your advice and your playbooks, there's just nothing better on the market. So super honored having you on this call, brother.
It's not 1987 anymore. I'd still have a lot of hair.
Yeah, right? 2017.
Times have changed, so selling has to change with it.
Yeah, no doubt.
How many times have I been on? Is this my fourth time?
I think it's fifth or sixth.
Maybe, yeah, it's been a lot of times. One
to two times a year, and they've been, everybody who's attended your trainings is just like, this guy is one of the best sales trainers I know. If you have attended Anthony's past trainings, if you could just tell me what some of your biggest takeaways were in the Q&A, anything that you have gotten from Anthony, let us know what that is. And then Anthony, I'm going to give you control of the screen, but
it's dangerous. Giving me control is a dangerous thing. I may not give it back.
Yeah, I know how to take it back, man. I didn't give you the ultimate privileges of the organizer.
There we go.
I'll let you know when I see it. And then, keep in mind, some folks on the call may not have heard you before, so tell us a little bit about yourself. And then I know you're going to talk to us about how we can be more effective salespeople. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of the content in the second book because it's important. I am a speaker. I'm an author. I'm still an entrepreneur. I still have businesses. I still sell. I still go on sales calls, and I think probably if I had to describe myself, I'd call myself a practitioner. And there are a lot of people that write a lot about sales and selling, and I would say that many of them are theorists, and they have ideas, and they read a lot, and they think a lot. But mostly what I do is practical application, because the most important thing is that you actually get a result. And it's important that you know how to get that result. And so far with the two books that I've written, I've sort of disclosed my bias against books that are all theory. And I read dozens and dozens of books, and they would have a great idea or a great concept in it, and then there would be no advice on how you make it actionable. So it's sort of like, hey, there's this really big idea. And you go, wow, I love that idea. How do you execute it? That's for you to figure out. We're going to charge you more for that as a consultant or something like that, or we have a program. I just don't think that's the right way to serve people with a book. So this book and the other book, both of them together, they've been very, very prescriptive about what can you do to improve your results. And this one probably more than others. And Dave, this is the hard thing for an author, is when people say, I like your second book better than your first book. And you go like, oh man, how can you say that? That's my first kid, you know? So like, all of my children are beautiful. But I get it, and the reason that they like this book so much is that the content is so prescriptive on how to have difficult conversations as you move through a sales process that people are really, really happy with the fact that there's some choices there for them to look at and say, wait, I could say these words. So I'm going to jam through a little bit of that, but before I do, I think I want to just share a concept with you. And it's that the idea of selling and buyer's journeys. We always talk about buyer's journeys now. It's really a very cool thing to talk about personas and that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, every time we draw this thing out, it's linear. It starts on the left side of the PowerPoint and it ends on the right side of the PowerPoint. And so they start with this awareness of some need or something, and then they start looking on the internet, and then at the end they buy, or whatever the case may be. And then we draw our funnel, and it says, you know, they're a target, and then they're qualified, and then they go into discovery, and then solution design, as if everything progresses in a normal linear way, like we do 1, then we do 2, then we do 3, then we do 4, except for in real life it doesn't work that way. We do 2, and then we do 3, and then we realize we didn't really do 2 very well, and the client has some other idea, so we go back to 2 again. Then we jump up to 4, and we're like, wait, we shouldn't be at 4. We still need to talk about this. Then we go backwards. And so there's this dance that we're doing, and it's now nonlinear. And anytime you add human beings to a process, it's nonlinear. Somebody thinks of something new, or you're talking to somebody, the wife thinks one thing, husband thinks something different. All of a sudden, they don't have any consensus amongst themselves, and we have to deal with all of this stuff. And that's a tremendous change.
Hey, Anthony, I would love it when you talk to our audience right now. You know, they're mortgage professionals, yep. But they really have 2 customers. They have the family that they're doing the loan for, and we could talk to them in that voice, how to be more effective with the family. But let's try to talk to them in the voice of referral partners, which
real estate agents.
Yeah, which are typically real estate agents.
Yep.
It could be a financial planner or CPA. But it's a local referral-based professional that they are convincing that, hey, I'm the loan officer, refer business to me. So if you could kind of deliver this content with that sale in mind.
I like the way you just said it. Look, I'm a loan officer, refer your business to me, period. This is like The Godfather or The Sopranos or something. You're just going to give me the business. It's not quite as easy as Dave just made it sound, and you know that. There's a process that we go through. And I'll sort of walk you through that, but I want to give you 2 more big concepts to frame this up. And the first one is trading value. And this is probably the biggest mistake that salespeople generally make, is they want to ask a prospective client or prospective referral partner for time, and they don't offer something in trade for that. So the first thing is when you're asking somebody to give you your time, you have to give them something of equal or greater value in order for them to make that exchange. And I think when you hear that, it just makes sense to you. You're like, yep, why would I give somebody my time if there wasn't something in it for me, if there wasn't some value for me to gain from giving that person the finite, non-renewable resource for all of us that's time. So you have to be able to give them insights. You have to be able to give them ideas. You have to be able to give them some knowledge, or you have to be able to give them some idea that says, look, I'm going to be able to help you produce better results for our shared client. And in that case, the potential homeowner. So there has to be some exchange. And I would challenge you as you're listening to this to think, what are you going to trade for that time? If they're going to give you an hour, what are you going to give them back? I like language that sounds something like this. Listen, Dave Savage, if you give me 20 minutes of your time, I'm going to share with you all the trends on real estate properties in this area, what the sales cycle has looked like, and how you can create greater value and maybe compress the sales cycle and getting people into the funnel and to make a purchase faster with less friction. Okay, how are you going to do that? I'm going to do something that says there's something worth your time. Otherwise, I'm going to expect to get a no. And the no always comes in something that we perceive as an objection, but it's not really an objection. It's just a concern. And they'll say something like, now's not a good time. What that really means is you're not trading me enough value. You need to give me more value or I can't meet with you. And so that's the first concept. And literally, I want you to think about this in every commitment that you ask for. you're responsible for explaining what they get out of making that commitment. What value do you create for them in that process? The second thing I want to tell you is that you have to control the process. And this sometimes makes people a little bit nervous to say, wait a second, I'm supposed to be serving my buyers. Okay, well, you serve them when you control the process, because when they control the process, they don't do very well. And whether it's your referral partners or whether it's the homeowner that you're actually trying to serve, when they decide that they want to do things how they want to do it, when they want to do it, they leave a lot of steps out of the process, and then they don't come to good decisions, and we're not there to serve them. So we want to correct all that. And Dave and I were having a little bit of a conversation earlier on here about the fact that it's 2017, and it is 2017, and that means you have to change the way you sell. And the idea of being passive and saying, you know, for the last 10 years, all I've read on the internet is don't close anybody. Let the buyer decide what comes next. They'll tell you when they want to take the next step. And so there's a bunch of people sitting around waiting for their phone to ring so the client can tell them that they want to take the next step, and that's not happening. And it's the same thing with the referral partners. You have to tell them what the process of referring clients to you is going to look like and how you go about that. Dave, you popped back up. I want to make sure that if you have a question, I bring you in.
Yeah, that's my way of raising my hand. You know, I'll walk off the stage and then I'll walk back onto the stage. But I wanted to put some emphasis around that because I have interviewed so many of the nation's most successful loan officers, and there's a lot of common threads that I see among those. But the best of the best, they do share this common thread of they're a leader. You know, they understand that part of what they bring to a real estate agent or referral partner is leadership. I am a mortgage expert. They don't tell them I'm a mortgage expert. They just, in the way that they show up in a meeting, they demonstrate that. And then they're not afraid of a little constructive tension. Again, they're not cocky, they're not arrogant, but if they're not aligned with the agent, they're not afraid to debate. So I would just ask everybody on this call, when you think of showing up as a leader, you know, you have that confidence, and then you control the process. Where do you rate? You know, how do you rate yourself? And I would say the higher you rate, the better. One more thought: when it comes to the total cost analysis, average loan officers, family says, "What's your rate?" And they just jump on it. The leader controlling the process drives the total cost conversation. You know, they actually help the family understand that the way I'm going to help you make a better decision is I'm going to help you understand the total cost over time. So that's another thing. If you're not delivering a total cost analysis to every family, you're not controlling the process. You're letting the borrower control the process. And what Anthony just said, that's not in their best interest. It's in their best interest that you control a consultative process that delivers a differentiated experience that has obvious and tangible value. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that in because I think it's so on point with where you're at here.
Dave, you only need two things to be a trusted advisor. Do you know what they are?
I'm not going to guess.
Trust and advice. That's it. It's a two-part recipe. The part where you're a peer and a leader is the fact that you have the advice. I know how to move you from your current state to a better future state, and I'm going to guide you on that path. And I'm going to tell you that there's a total cost analysis here that's going to change your mind about what the rate is and what it should be, because I'm going to deliver a different level of value. I have to control that process, because when I don't control the process, people make mistakes, and they mistake price for cost. And that's a very, very tough thing to teach people until you can show them. And your tool does a really good job of showing them that there's another calculation to look at.
Hey, Anthony, one more thought on this particular topic. For all the managers on this call, that you either have loan officers that are underperforming, or you have loan officers that you know just aren't, you know, based off their work ethic and based off their production, they're not maximizing themselves. I would say this is where you need to come in and coach them up to delivering a better experience. If someone on your team does not have an exceptional conversion rate, and by the way, you know what exceptional is in your marketplace, then you need to bring some constructive tension to that loan officer. And again, we're in mortgage coach land right now, so it's Are they delivering a total cost analysis to every family, or are they letting the family drive the process? So if you're a manager, I think this goes for you also if you're listening on this call. Anthony, I don't want to hijack your call. I'll jump back in if I have something else to add, but keep it rocking.
I have a feeling you'll be back to hijack us in a few minutes.
You're probably right.
Let me talk to you about some of the commitments. So first, let's talk about the acquisition of referral partners. The first commitment we need from someone is the commitment for time. And you're always going to hear me say language that says, look, Dave Savage, if you give me 20 minutes of your time for a meet and greet, I'm going to share with you the 4 biggest trends in the mortgage industry and the decisions that you and your clients are going to need to make over the next 18 to 24 months to make sure that you're serving them correctly and that they get the best potential experience and the best deal they can get. Okay, so I gave you 20 minutes. One, because I want to reduce the level of commitment I'm asking for. I'm not asking for a meeting because when I ask for a meeting, nobody knows how long that meeting's going to be or if there's going to be great value created. So I've already put an end on the meeting. It's 20 minutes. And then I've also told you what value I intend to create. I'm going to talk to you about something other than me. I'm going to talk to you about something other than my product or my service. I'm going to talk to you about something other than why you should choose me as your referral partner. I'm going to talk to you about how we do better work together, how we think differently, how we serve people from a different place. And that's so that I have some compelling reason for them to say, this is interesting, I should probably think about doing something different. And who are the people that lead us to do something different? Those are trusted advisors. Those are the people who we look to say, what's new, what's next? How do I move into the future? So that's the trade that I'm trying to make for the commitment of time. And literally, you know this because you've done it before. When you get that 20-minute meeting and you start talking about big issues, you start talking about challenges in the business, and you sound like you're smart and you're thoughtful and you're working to produce better results, then automatically that turns into a longer conversation. And you say something like, here's what's going on with rates, and here's what's going on over here. And somebody says, you know what, I have some questions about that. When somebody starts asking you questions, what they're saying to you is, you have advice and you have ideas that I don't yet have, and I'd like to know more about how you think of this. Now you're moving into trusted advisor, and really that's the place where we want to play. We want to play in the spot where people are looking at us.
So I want everybody, think about what are you saying to realtors right now to get their time, AKA the 20-minute meeting. What are you saying? Now, if someone just knows it off the top of their head, like, hey, this is my pitch to get the meeting, put it in questions, type it out. Now, if you're not clear, I don't want you to multitask. I want you to stay in the moment. But I would love to know, what are you saying? And I put one homework assignment right now. Everybody on this call, within an hour of this call, you should have something written down. It doesn't have to be a script. It could just be bullet points. But what is the value proposition you're making right now to get the time in the meeting for the realtors that you want to do business? Back to you.
At the end of that meeting, you need another commitment. And the one thing that I recognized in Neil Rackham's book, Spin Selling, which he published in 1988, he said every great salesperson that they watched was getting a commitment to take the next step at the end of a meeting. So what I did when I read that was started making sure that I got a commitment at the end of every meeting regardless of what it was. I didn't have to get a close. I just had to get the next close. What's the next close? The next one is the commitment to explore. And when you understand the source of your prospective client's dissonance or their dissatisfaction or their pain, you can help them create a problem worth solving. So the reason we want to talk about business issues is because then people look to us and say, you know what, we do struggle with these issues, and we do have this challenge and this other challenge. And you can simply ask the question, does it make sense for us to get back together and explore that a little deeper? And I'll tell you what, I'm going to trade you some value. I'm going to show up at that meeting with some of the ideas that we're using to help people get through this particular challenge. And I'll share with you some of the things that we've seen that haven't worked. And listen, even if there's not a next step for us together, I'll leave you with some ideas that if you want to make an improvement in that area, you'll be able to execute on that immediately after our meeting. I'm asking for the commitment to explore change, and I'm asking for a commitment to have a conversation to talk about what could be different. they've not yet made the commitment to change, but I need them to open up to the possibility that they could do something different. So this is the second commitment that we tend to need. And we weave that into the third commitment. And you might do this during the second meeting. It might be a third meeting. Could be over lunch. But unless and until your prospective client agrees to change, you don't have an opportunity. And I get to see lots of pipelines for small companies and small, medium companies and really large companies. And the one thing that I notice is that until the prospective client agrees that they have a reason to change and do something different, you don't really have an opportunity. All you really have is a lead who's got enough interest to have a conversation with you, but until they commit to change, you really don't have anything. And so at the end of a meeting where we've been exploring, I've got to ask a question that sounds like this. Dave, you know what, it sounds like this is an issue for you, and it sounds like we've talked about some ideas that might work for you. Is this the right kind of a problem for us to work on together, or is there something else that you think we should do instead? Or does it make sense to do anything right now? And Dave could say, listen, right now is not time for this. I've got too much going on. I've got 3 initiatives, but I would like to revisit it in the future. Okay, so I did not get that commitment, and you don't get to win every commitment just because you ask for it. If that's the case, I'm going to say, Dave, could you share with me what you're working on that's more important, and maybe there's a way I could help you with that. And if not, you may have to come back and have another meeting. But I have to get this commitment, because without this commitment, nobody does anything different, which means they're not going to start referring people to you instead of your competitors. After we do this, we've got to start collaborating. And this is an underutilized engagement that we have with clients, because we think, you know what, they know what my solution is. They know how a mortgage person does this work. Why do I have to collaborate with them? Because if it's your solution and you show it to them, it's not their solution. It has to be our solution. And when you invite them in to say, this is the way we typically work, but I'd love to know how I can tailor this so that it exactly fits your needs, and so that if we're working together, it's as friction-free and as seamless as it can be, and that I can take any burden that you have working with mortgage folks off of you and move it onto our side. Does that make sense? I'm going to ask them that question because I want to know, how do I get you engaged in this? So they can say, listen, the way that it works best for me, I really like this, and I need this, and I need that. And what I'm trying to elicit from them is, what's the answer key? And I want to make sure that I understand, how do they need somebody in my role to be a partner for them? And how are they going to prefer me over everyone else? Give me that list of things that work for you so that we can build it into a solution. And we change it from mine or yours to ours. And when it's ours, now it's very difficult for them to say no, and they like it a lot better because they're the ones that helped design it. So rather than just saying, this is the way we do things, we're going to say, this is the way we like to do things. But mostly what we like to do is collaborate with our clients so we can build a process that serves them better than any other process they've seen. I'm going to pause for 1 second here, Dave, and make sure I'm not leaving you out of anything you want to comment on.
Yeah, you know me. I can jump in and comment. I am going to put in chat a link to an interview I did with Jeremy Forcier. It has the 5 questions that he asked realtors when he has his first meeting. And I think it's funny, well, it's not funny, interesting, that I bet all these questions align with the sandbox that you're creating. You know, when you look at the concepts, the best practices that Anthony is sharing, when you watch these questions, and again, I haven't seen this presentation, so who knows, maybe it will be completely different, but there are questions that help him collaborate. There are questions that allow for him to create unique and different value. So another homework assignment, you know, I've already given you one. What do you say when you get a meeting? And is it as compelling as it could be? And is it working in a way that you're achieving your goals? Homework assignment number 1. Homework assignment number 2 is, if you haven't already watched these questions from Jeremy, and knowing that this video has been watched over 2,000 times, you may have already watched it. But I would ask you, what are you doing different in your presentation because you watched this video? I mean, have you actually watched it, consumed the content, and improved your realtor presentation as a result of that? And if not, I hope you do. Back to you, Anthony.
All right. I'm going to talk about this as if it applies to you, and you can take as much of this as works for you and leave the rest of it. I think that's the best way. We think about consensus, so I'm thinking about calling on Keller Williams. I'm thinking about calling on a Remax, and there's a location, and there's 8 people or 24 people in some building. Consensus means that I talk to that person and that company in a way where I get agreement that everybody's going to consider this and look at this, and everybody's going to participate in the process if they're going to be affected by it, and everybody gets to be heard, and everybody gets to share their concerns and try to collaborate, and that we mitigate any challenges that we create for them as we go through this process. And if what we do is going to disrupt something, we try to do something about it. And I think about this from a homeowner, because I do think that consensus between a husband and wife and that kind of a relationship, a spouse or a partner, they tend to care a lot about consensus too. And you'll often hear people say, you know, I want to speak to my spouse. And controlling the process means I'm going to first invite that. So let's say I'm calling on a big real estate group in my city. I'm going to say, Dave, who else does it make sense to bring into this conversation so we can make sure that we really understand their needs and that we make sure that whatever we build here is going to serve them as well. I'm going to figure out who that is. And if Dave says, you know what, look, I'm the boss, I'm the one that's going to decide, then I'm going to probably push back and I'm going to say something like, listen, Dave, I promise I won't let you lose control of this, but in my experience, you know, a lot of people won't shift from what they know how to do and the people that they know unless they're invited into a process like this. So is there a way that we could bring in some friendlies, some people who are going to like this idea so we can get them on the team and make this easier, you know, for us down the road? I want to control the process, and I want to push back. Like Dave said, I'm a peer, I'm a trusted advisor, I'm consultative, which means I'm not uncomfortable having a little bit of conflict in a relationship like this because it's a constructive conflict and it's a healthy conflict. I'm trying to prevent them from making a mistake. And the thing about being a trusted advisor is you don't have to wait until your client makes a mistake to start helping them. You start helping them before that. Your job as a trusted advisor is to prevent them from making mistakes in the first place. And so that's the role that I want to occupy as I'm going through this conversation. And from there, we can start talking about money with the clients that we need to. And I gave you some language here just because I think it's really important to be able to say, look, my price is going to be a little bit higher than my competitors, and it's going to be a little bit more than you're used to paying. But I want to share with you how investing a little bit more is going to ensure that you produce better overall outcomes and how it will eventually lower your overall costs. Can I share that with you? And I'm not afraid of having a higher price. I've talked to a lot of people in the mortgage industry who are like, man, my price is more than my competitors. Yeah, you know why? Because you're better. You're supposed to capture more value so you can deliver greater value. Having a higher price is a sword. It's not a shield that you hide behind. It's a sword that you use to whack everybody's arms and legs off. That's what you're trying to do with a higher price, is say this is a representation of greater value. When you walk into a Mercedes, they do not feel like they're competing with Kia or Hyundai. They know that they have a better car, and if you want a better car, you're going to pay for it. But they're not afraid of it, and they're not going to be having a conversation about why they should be lowering their price in any case. So we need to talk about money, and money is always a difficult issue, but I'm telling you from controlling the process perspective, it's better to initiate that conversation. And if I was to resort this deck in any way, and I won't do that right now, but if I were, I'd move this conversation up earlier. In my experience selling at a higher price is that I tell people my price is higher and I justify the delta at the very beginning of the conversation. I'm not afraid of it, I embrace it. And does it scare some people off? Yes. It scares off the people who only care about price and do not recognize value, and I don't have to spend any more time with them. So if you have a higher price, I can't see your questions in the question box. I think Dave can, but if you do, it would be interesting for you to say, yes, I have a higher price in the question, so I get some idea about how many of you that is, because I bet it's true for many of you. And it's a very interesting concept, and if you want to go out and look at my YouTube channel, if you think it's hard to sell with a higher price, you should start trying to sell with a low price. because people immediately recognize a lack of value. And I know it's different with money, but that's all about how we sell and how effective we are at controlling this process. Before we bring Dave back in, I want to go to one more. I always want to review whatever my proposal is. So if I'm talking to a group of real estate agents and I have a plan to convert them from using somebody else to using me and my team, I want to sit down and review that plan with people, and I want to talk about it, and I want to make sure it's right. And the reason that you want to do this when you control the process is specifically because of one thing. I do not want to give someone, and I do not want you to give someone a proposal that they can say no to. I don't want you to ever give somebody something that they can look at and go, man, it's just not right. Since it's not right, I got to move on and do something different. I want you to get one last bite at the apple to say, if this is what we were doing, would it be 100% right? Would it be correct? Is there anything that you still want to modify or change? Because if there is, then I want the last bite at the apple. I want a chance to fix that so I can come back and do it again. In the book, The Lost Art of Closing, I tell the story about Ross Perot when he was with EDS, and he would walk in and give people a proposal and then hand out yellow highlighters and red pens and tell them to mark it up, and then he would go back and make their changes. Until finally, 3 or 4 meetings in on big deals, somebody would say, it's perfect just the way it is. And he'd say, okay, is it okay for us to get started? And they would say, yes, it's okay to get started. And that's because he wanted to make sure he couldn't get a no. And what you want to do in every case is make sure that what you show people is the pre-proposal and the review meeting so that we can tighten it up and make sure that it fits exactly until somebody says, you know what, this is exactly right, I can move forward with it. That's what we're trying to do. So this is a commitment to review. A lot of times what happens at this stage, though, is somebody says something like, can you just email that to me? And we say, oh, yeah, sure, I'll email that to you. And what you're doing is you're saying, I've now ceded control of this. I've now handed it over. I'm not in control of the proposal anymore. They can look at it. They can delete it. They can archive it. They can show it to my competitor. They can decide to come call someone else, and I have nothing to do with any of that because I just handed it over and I pulled myself out of the deal. I'm going to pause here and Dave, let you come back in.
I'm going to let you keep rolling. I want to make sure you get through the content, and I'll jump in if I have something.
At the end of every buyer's internal process, and I'm talking about their psychology, I'm talking about what goes on in their mind, they have concerns. And sometimes they're real and sometimes they're imagined. Is there a better deal? Am I working with the right person? Is this too much money? Is this mortgage group going to be different than the last group of people I worked for? Are they really going to deliver the value that they said they're going to? There's all these concerns that pop up. And how we help clients is to resolve that concern. So when they say something like, we'll look this over and we'll get back to you, then you've ceded control again, and you can't do that. So what you have to be able to do is to say something like, listen, Dave, I appreciate you want to consider this, and I know you want to talk it over with a couple members of your team. Can I share one recommendation and tell you how this tends to work best for most people? And I want to ask that question, and I want to wait for Dave to say yes. And when he says yes, then I get to say, you're going to have questions, you're going to have some concerns, and you're probably going to have some things that you're going to want more information on. When you have that meeting, can I follow up with you at the end of that meeting to make sure that I'm there to serve you and to answer any concerns and to make sure you're 100% confident moving forward with the solution that we put together? What day would you meet with them, and could I have the last 15 minutes of that meeting? I'm going to ask for that directly. If they say no, I'm still going to ask for another meeting. Then when does it make sense for us to meet? Because I want to make sure that anything that pops up, I can be there for you. I'm there to serve them, and I don't serve them when I let them sit by themselves with their fears and try to figure out what they don't know themselves. They don't need more time. They need more information, and they need more certainty. And I can give them both the information and the certainty, and so can you. But if we're going to give them that, we have to be there. We have to be in the deal to do that. A couple more slides here real quick. This one, the commitment to decide, is going to be either the easiest commitment you ever ask for, and it's going to sound like this. If you're 100% confident that this is right, I'd like to ask you to sign a contract, and I'd like to move forward with you. And some of you may not have contracts with realtors, but you could, and I've done it with other people, and it works. You can do that. or it's the most difficult. And what you do that makes it difficult is you skip over these conversations because they're difficult, and because you have to talk about money, and you have to talk about people's concerns, and you have to talk about displacing somebody they've had a long relationship with. All of that stuff makes it difficult when you're in the conversation, but it makes it easy for you to get a yes at the end when you've done this work. So how you behave before you get to this commitment is going to determine how easy it is for you to ask for the business. And the more work you do to serve people through this process, the easier it is for you to get a yes. And the more you try to shorten the cycle by not having these conversations, or the more you allow them to cut these conversations out of the process themselves, the more difficult this commitment is to gain. Dave, I'll go one more and then we'll stop. So you've talked to the real estate agent, you've talked to their group, they've said, yes, we really like this. They told you they would send you referrals, and they don't. And that's why the commitment to decide is not the last commitment. The last commitment is the commitment to execute. So I still need other things to happen. And I might have to have a conversation with a real estate partner, a referral partner that sounds like, you know what, I've got everything in place, and I'd like to talk about when we should expect the first referral from you, and I want to make sure I have my resources dedicated to that. When can you send us your first referral, and how can I help? I need to ask this question because we went through this whole process so we can get people better results. And if they don't do what they need to do to get those results, we have to go back and help them commit to doing all the things that are necessary to get those results. And that's the final commitment. But I will just tell you, at the end of this, when you execute, you got to go back and start the process again to say, now how do I help them do more and do better? And that means you're going to go through this cycle a number of times so that you can create greater and greater value for your clients over time. Dave, that's it. That's a lot of commitments.
Yeah. Well, I think some things for folks to think about. You notice that, you know, the book is called The Lost Art of Closing. And some people might have thought they would come here and it would just be around the tail end of the sales process. Like, what scripts do we have to overcome objections? And notice that it's a process, that if you follow this process, the close just happens. I mean, the customer closes. And so I would ask everybody to think of some big relationships. Well, I do think a lot of what's in here applies to the family. And by the way, I would say one of the biggest mistakes that lots of loan officers make, that the best loan officers don't make, is they understand who all the decision makers are within the family unit. And yes, there's a husband and wife, but often it's a father-in-law that's either loaning them the down payment that wants them to use his lender, or it's this buddy at work that's a real estate investor that's like real estate genius, and he wants them to use his lender. And so even in the family, you call it the loan, often this consensus part, average loan officers don't understand who all the decision makers are. Top loan officers that have the best conversion do. And by the way, another reason to give a total cost analysis, because it's a shareable link, and everybody involved in the sales experience gets your presentation. But I want you guys in this call to focus on who are some big relationships. Could have been a financial planning firm. Could have been a Keller Williams office. Could have been a team. You know, by the way, now more than ever, real estate teams are the biggest opportunity for lenders. And let's face it, in every real estate team, multiple decision makers, consensus is critical. You may be meeting with the baller agent whose name is on everything. It could be, you know, someone else in the team that really makes that decision. And by the way, it may not just be the right-hand man or woman. It could be, you know, some director level individual that's making the decision. So I want you to think of the relationships that you want, that you don't have, and then I want you to kind of reflect what Anthony's gone through. And you might have to, you know, watch this again and go through these steps. But I want you to think about where are you getting stalled, where are you getting stuck in the sales process. So by the way, Anthony, obviously people can buy your book. and I'm a huge fan. I'm a personal fan of your writing, your reading. But for folks that want to engage at an even deeper level with you, what can they do and how can they get in touch with you?
I mean, if they want to buy the book, the best thing to do, if you go to Amazon.com and you buy it, you can email me directly at my name. It's Anthony@Iannarino.com, and we can type that in here so you have it. If you email me, what I'll do is I'll send you a workbook and I'll send you a link to a Facebook mastermind coaching group. So you can join that Facebook group. There's probably 450 people there. We get together every Saturday, and we take a lot of questions and a lot of answers. So we'll talk about a commitment. We'll talk about a concept. We'll answer a lot of questions around that, and then the videos live there. So if you want to go back and take a deeper dive into any commitment or some of the questions that were asked, we've got that available for you. So you can do that, and it's probably the best way. The reason I think that the workbook will serve you is because it's a place to do the thinking about what does that commitment look or sound like in my world. And in the book, there's a lot of language choices, and you get to hear what that conversation sounds like, and you get to see what it looks like when there's somebody who's trying to be consultative and not avoiding difficult issues at all. And that's really what I hope you'll do, is say, look, I'm going to be a peer and a trusted advisor like Dave described. I'm going to be the leader, and I'm going to help guide them to that better future. So that's what you have to do, and there's a lot of things that you can do around that you'll see in the book. But the workbook really is a place for you to decide, how do I have this? And if you want to approach large real estate teams, this is a blueprint for doing that 100%. It's really way more for that than it is for family, although I do think that a lot of this conversation happens in a B2C sale in a shorter period of time. But it does still occur. Consensus still matters. The exploration still matters. All that stuff still goes on.
So I have put Anthony's email address in chat. If you're watching the recording, I'll put it below. So you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a description down below. I'll put a link to Anthony's page. Again, buy his book, buy his workbook, and become part of the Facebook group he's talking about. You will sell more. You will make more money if you do that. So hey, Anthony, we've got about 13 more minutes, and you do a great job of this. I mean, you've got to know our product pretty well, and you understand where we fit within your sales process. You know, the Mortgage Coach mission is all about, let's not quote rates and fees, old school fee worksheets. Let's deliver families with an option. Let's make it a mobile experience. Again, we like to say stop selling like it's 2007 pre-meltdown and start helping families really make educated decisions. And if you do that, you'll close more loans. You'll literally be giving yourself a 20% or more raise. And Anthony, the biggest challenge we always have is adoption. Like, loan officers are like, I know I need to do that, but they won't. And then also a big challenge we have is managers are kind of like, you know, some loan officers will do it, some won't. But again, we kind of come from this thought that if you want to have a distinct and competitive advantage, you need to do this, and you need to do it consistently. I don't know, what advice would you have for loan officers that either, one, aren't adopting best practices, and two, any advice that you have for managers? I mean, you know the problem that we're dealing with there, the challenge and opportunity. How would you lead our community to adopt this type of technology more effectively and implement best practices more consistently?
I want to separate that into the two groups, and some of this is going to sting just a little bit. Look, knowing the right thing to do and not doing it is the same as not knowing the right thing to do. And so you're no better off knowing what you know and knowing that it's going to lead to success than somebody who just doesn't even know that Mortgage Coach exists. It doesn't even make any sense. Your job is not to make selling easy. Your job is to win. And so what you want to do when you play the game, you want to win the game. And there's no reason to play the game. There's no reason to go to work to work. You don't go to work to work. You go to work to create a result. And that's the only thing that matters. And Mortgage Coach is going to increase the likelihood that you win. It's going to increase the likelihood that you are now perceived as a peer and a trusted advisor, and you're going to be developing lifelong relationships. And I would tell you, the biggest change that's happened in sales, and we've got a video about this, Dave, because I've talked about level 4 value creation. You come in at level 1 and say, I've got a product, or level 2, I have a service, and no one cares. You are not interesting, you're not compelling. You've got to come in from 4 and say, look, I know how to think about this better than you do. I have greater insight. I understand the trade-offs better than you do. That's how you're going to position yourself as a trusted advisor. A very simple 2-part recipe, Dave. Trust and advice. It's only 2 things. You've got to have both of those things. And Mortgage Coach is giving you the advice part of this, so you immediately get to step up and say, I've got the advice, because I can show you. I can teach you this. And when you're the teacher and you're advising, that's what makes you an advisor. I hope that just makes sense to you, because that's how it works. Now, if you're a manager, my favorite little book I read, maybe ever, for a leadership perspective, is called Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. And it's a science fiction book about these children who are very young, who get taken to space to learn how to be warriors and generals and fight an alien horde that almost destroyed the Earth the last time they attacked. You think, what does that have to do with leadership at all? And that's what I would have thought too, except I found the book on the Marines reading list, and it was the #1 book at the top of the Marines reading list. And I'm thinking, why would that book be here? It makes no sense. It's sci-fi. And then I read the introduction by Orson Scott Card, where he talks about reading a 3-volume book set by Bruce Canton called The Army of the Potomac about the Civil War. And what he realized is that Lincoln had 4 generals. He had 3 generals before he got to Grant. They all had the same enemy. They all had the same horses, same captains, same colonels, same terrain. Everything's the same. But Grant decided to use the army as an extension of his will, and I think he even said he used it as an extension of his fist. You're a manager, and as a manager, your job, like it for your people, is to produce the best outcomes and to win. That's what you're trying to do. So you have to use them as an extension of your will, which means you have to go to them and say, in my house and in my business, it's my rules, and my rules are, we stack the deck in our favor because we intend to win, and we use Mortgage Coach, and specifically because it increases the odds of us winning and doing better work and keeping clients for life. And I think that's sort of using the right tools as a non-negotiable. As a leader and a manager, you're given a set of resources, and you decide what the strategy is and what the best way is to deploy those resources. And if you've got a resource that would allow you to produce better results and you're not using it, then it's the same as not having the resource. It doesn't make any sense. You've got the resource for a reason. Please use it. Your job is to win. It makes me so happy when people win. Go do more winning. That's why we put these on, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And I've seen, in the mortgage industry, I don't know if we're different than other industries. Well, I know we are to some extent, but you're seeing the whole C-suite invest in technology that makes getting a mortgage more efficient, makes it a better experience for families. And we're not the only technology that's not implemented as well as it should be. There's CRM, there's the digital app, taking the app online. And so for every loan officer on this call, you could have 2018 can be the best year you've ever had. Even though it's projected to be down 5% in terms of loan volume, it can lose every single Friday at 9 o'clock Pacific. It's a mastermind. That means while we have guests and we do present ideas, every question gets answered. We unmute people from the audience. We talk about topics. So come this Friday at 9 o'clock. I am going to focus this Friday. The big topic will be how to create videos that generate leads. Again, I want to help the mortgage coach community be able to tell the story of how they deliver advice that's better in a way that if someone watches that video, they're going to call up and say, I want a total cost analysis. So that will be a big topic this Friday. But every single Friday, we're talking about something to help you make more money in less time. So Anthony, let's see if we have some Q&A here. One person, and again, I don't know that we're going to be able to nail this in the last 5 minutes of the call, but one person, they just asked, how do I earn trust faster? I mean, how would you answer that question?
The first thing for trust, trust is made up of essentially three things. It's credibility. Do you know what you're talking about? Reliability. That means you have to make and keep your commitments. But number three is intimacy. And if you read Charlie Green's Trusted Advisor with David Maister, they actually wrote the book Trusted Advisor, or Trust-Based Selling, or the Trust-Based Selling Field Book, any of the three by Charles Green. What Charlie will tell you is the number one driver is not your credibility or your reliability, it's your intimacy. And then you take reliability times credibility times intimacy, and you divide it by how self-oriented you are. So if I say, hey, Dave, I really would like to have your business because it would help me grow my business. That's self-orientation. Or you say, I really need to make more money and I need to be able to get new clients. Can you help me with that? That's about me. It's not anything to do with Dave. And Dave's like, oh, good. So Anthony's here to see if I can help him make more money. I was looking for somebody that might help me do better work with my clients. So you have to be other-oriented. And intimacy is number one, because when you know me, when you care about me, when you understand me, when you ask me good questions, that's what creates the connection that gets you the trust faster than anything else. And I'm not telling you that as me. I'm telling you what Charlie Green's research shows is the intimacy is the big driver. And the most trusted profession on earth are nurses, and it's because of the intimacy. And the lowest is not salespeople, it's politicians, and then lawyers, and then salespeople. But we should be climbing way higher because, well, I wrote this in the book. If your mom sells, you know, your mom's not a selfie, smarmy, manipulative, pushy person, is she? Probably not, because that's not what serves people in sales anymore anyway. So we should be climbing up on this, but the negative connotation is about the self-orientation anyway, and it's not about selling.
Yeah, in addition to what you just said, there's a quote, I can't remember who said, oh, Kristen Messerly said it, that transparency beats honesty. And so I would just say the combination of asking great questions, listening, demonstrating that you're listening by repeating back the family's goals or the realtor's goals, but delivering transparency in the transaction. You know, showing them, again, I hate to always bring it back to Mortgage Coach, but it really is a cornerstone to success. When you show people options that they didn't ask for, and you show them visually, and by the way, you didn't just show them because it's what you want to show them. It's like you asked them great questions, you demonstrated that you listened, you put options. Not only are you creating intimacy, not only are you creating authority, but you are just rapidly building trust with that family. So that's a good one.
And you're collaborating, Dave. You're collaborating with them. We're working on a solution together.
Yeah, love it, love it. So we got 2 minutes. Ken asked for a link to the mastermind. By the way, if you're watching the recording, I'll put it in the link below. And Ken, you could go to our calendar online, go to Mortgage Coach, go to the calendar. So you got 1 minute, Anthony. Any last words of wisdom for the Mortgage Coach community as we wrap up today's call?
Just the quick reminders. You want to trade value for every commitment that you ask. You want to do your very best to control the process as much as you possibly can. And you want to have a plan to ask for and gain all the commitments you need as you work from targeting a real estate group to closing them and executing. That's going to help you more than anything else. And if I can do anything to help you, you've got my email right there. Just reach out and I'll help you any way I can.
All right, my friend. Well, super appreciate the time to prepare for this call, to deliver value to the community. I have put a link below if you're watching the video. Get Anthony's book. Also, you know, come to the Wednesday Mastermind. Let us know what your takeaways were from today's call. Anthony, have a fantastic day and take care, everybody.
All right, thanks. Great to see you, Dave.
All right, take care.
See you.